This is Interpreting Wine host and founder Lawrence Francis welcoming you to a special series celebrating the beauty and diversity of Slovenian wine. These episodes, recorded in September 2019, let you virtually travel with me on a personal tour organised by Mojca from Enjoy Slovenia Travel and Wine. The episodes, to be released in the order in which they were recorded, will let the country unfold for you in the same way that it did for me. For more information about wine tourism in Slovenia, please visit enjoy-slovenia.com. Wines from the producers featured in the series can be ordered at fineslovenianwine.com. And finally, to be in with a chance of winning a case of wines from the series, do head to interpretingwine.com/fineslovenianwine. Today's episode of the Slovenia Travel and Wine Special features Edi Šuc of the Vrabci Homestead. We finished the second full day touring in Slovenia with a visit to the Vrabci Homestead in Pliskovica, less than 10 minutes from Rencel by car. Staying in the Karst region and close to the Italian border. Here we were greeted by brothers Ivo and Edi Šuc, responsible between them for production and sales and marketing, respectively. Edi takes the lead on the interview, giving us an introduction to the brothers and their roles in the business, before discussing production methods and regional drinking culture, before embarking on an epic tasting ranging from the wine that they produce for consumption in its own right and use as the base for their spirits. In all, 4 wines and 10 spirits. Edi interspersing each with local flavour and insight into the traditions that the brothers are helping to preserve, made this a very special visit, and for reasons that will become apparent, one which I'd highly recommend. Enjoy.
Every house here, let's say, had its own vineyard, so we also had it for forever, I guess. But lately, like 20 years ago, my brother took over. We also had livestock and other animals, but we stopped with that because it was too much work. And then my brother wanted to take over the wine production because he liked it. He said, I want to continue. And together we expanded the vineyard. Right now we have about 2 hectares, 6,000 grape wines. And but lately, let's say in the last few years, my brother started concentrating on spirits, on fine spirits, because with wine, he produces good wine, but he thinks he really feels the spirits, that he can do more with them. So as you can see, there is we have 3 kinds of wines, but much more spirits.
I think that what would be interesting is I've heard a lot from the producers. I've been traveling all around Slovenia, a lot about the the history of wine in Slovenia. But do you know, or are you able to share something about the sort of the spirit producing history of either your family or this region?
Yeah, the typical spirits that you find here are Grappa. Although we shouldn't call it Grappa because Italians registered the name, but it's a spirit from the skin of the grape, and the other is we call it Bleaches. This is pure distillate from juniper berries. This is very, very typical for Slovenia. I don't think that you can find it anywhere in the world. It's also protected. So these are the most typical for this part of for Slovenia for us. But since you cannot have just 2, and my brother really likes to experiment, so he makes different kinds of. We started really. With this Dr. Šuc 38, so it's a spirit with 38 local herbs, all hand-picked, let's say, around the village. And with this, we got it going. It was like 10 years ago. And fortunately, I have a friend who is a good designer. He made the design for the bottle. And with this, we saw, okay, you can really sell this. So this got my brother going, and he started experimenting. And right now he says, I don't know, 18 products, all different, many experiments. But he's let's say we don't have gin yet. So a lot of people ask us, but you have all this, why don't you have gin? And my brother says, first I make the beverage, the liquor, I bake it in my mind. And if it's not ready in my mind, I don't produce it. And he still doesn't have the recipe for gin, so he doesn't want to produce it. And everybody says, oh, but now it's high time for gin, everybody's selling gin, you will lose this, let's say this hype. But he's not following the hype. He wants to be, let's say, an excellent producer with long track record, and so he's not following any hype.
Okay, cool. And you've kind of preempted really my next question, which was really just to I guess give us a little insight into the methodology, the production methods that's being used by your brother.
Most of them are some kind of distillate from the grape. Or is clear distillate from wine, so you distill the wine, or is a distillate from the whole grape, or is distillate only from the skin. So if you distill only the skin, you get the grappa. Each of them gives different taste. And if you distill the wine and you age it in a cask bottles, in a casks, you get this. We call it Brandy Terrarossa. It's the same method as French cognac. Yes, basically distilled wine, and these are the clear distillates. As I said before, the Brignevets is basically, you cannot call it really gin. But it's made only from juniper tree, from juniper berries. The difference between gin and Brignevets is gin, you just put it like a spice inside the clear alcohol, and you redistill it. So while you do the redistillation, it takes out the scent, the aromas out of the juniper berry, and you get, let's say, a very very pleasant, not very strong taste of juniper berries. But since Brignevets is distillate, so basically you just crush the berry, you put it in water, you leave it there for 3-4 weeks, ferment it, and then you distill it. So basically you distill the sugar from the berries produces alcohol, and then when you distill it, you get this clear distillate, and it's so strong, so different. If you haven't tasted it, you will see by yourself what is the difference between gin and that. So this is, let's say, a little bit different because the source is different. And right now, there are also some liqueurs. The difference with liqueurs is the base is still grape distillate, different mixture. He always tries to find the mixture of grappa, of distillate of the grape and distillate of the wine to have a nice balance. And then he puts inside some herbs. We have sage, we have fennel, we have lemon, we have walnut. So you just put this everything by itself inside, and you leave it for some time to get the taste out. But the base is still, let's say, the clean distillate. The one thing that he started experimenting last year is distillates from fruit. But right now we don't have anything ready because it needs to rest for at least 2 or 3 years before it comes, let's say, soft enough to drink. So right now, we do basically almost of them distillates from some kind of distillate from the grape.
I think what would also be really interesting is just to get some insight into kind of how, if there is a sort of a drinking culture that surrounds these type of drinks, what is that? What does that sort of look like? When are people drinking these? Mm-hmm. And I guess based on your feedback from, I guess, customers and maybe within Slovenia or without, how are they enjoying these particular drinks?
It's difficult to say. Maybe the culture is changing definitely, because people were always drinking like this grappa, because it was a natural byproduct of the wine. You know, you produce wine, you have these skins. What do? You distill them. So everybody had these grappas, but they were not very good in taste. But everybody drank them. You know, especially the old people. The young people don't like them. So basically, we have to build this new culture because we don't like to see this as a means of getting drunk. These are drinks that for us, why a distillate? A distillate is a means to carry the essence of whatever you're transferring. So basically, alcohol is just a method to transfer the aromas. So it shouldn't be too strong, it shouldn't be too weak, just the right balance. And when you drink it, you should drink it slow, not just people drink it like when you drink vodka, you just pour it, you know, because it tastes bad, I guess. But this, you should take time. With brandy, we found out that this particular brandy, you should leave it in the glass for half an hour, so it can really develop the taste and all the aromas. So basically, we're promoting this as let's say some maybe aperitifs or more like a digestive. You know, after food, you have a small glass of whatever you like to drink slowly, to enjoy the aroma, and yeah, of course, it's digestive because of these strong alcohols. It helps you with the digestion. So this is the culture we're also trying to promote, because it's not so popular in Slovenia to even to talk about. There are quite a few producers, but if you check around, you see a lot of wine producers. You see them everywhere. Beer is very popular right now. Okay, gin is popular, but with these fine spirits, there are a few producers very good, but everybody is a little bit hidden, because nowadays everybody is talking, oh, you cannot drink, I have to drive, it's a problem. Yeah, but don't drink when you drive. Drink at home in the evening. Take half an hour, enjoy, try to discover new tastes, and this is something we're striving to get to.
Okay, and then just kind of an add-on to that, it might just go straight from that. And yeah, I'm just wondering, if you come across, I don't know, bartenders or mixologists, or anything on that kind of trend where people, in addition to kind of drinking neat in those categories, where they're perhaps using these in cocktails or using them to mix.
We made a cocktail out of Brynjevec. But I didn't find out yet that somebody is doing something with our drinks. But definitely there are some restaurants that found out about us, or we found about them. And they're typically the restaurants here in Slovenia like to buy our products, the ones that like to differentiate themselves by offering local produce. Because our Dr. Šuc is basically alcohol with herbs. Some call it Jägermeister. It's not Jägermeister, it's different. But if you want to offer some herb liquor to your guest, why not local? Why import it? If you want to show to the customer who comes to Slovenia what we can produce, sell something local. This is something that we are also really working on, to find this kind of restaurants that are looking for local produce.
I guess enough talking. Let's try these. I guess you've got these lined up here on the table. We'll start with the wines and work our way through the spirits. So, let's rock and roll.
So we started with our white wine. This is Malvasia. It's very typical for this Karst region. It's Karst and mid-Adriatic part, quite mineral wine, but we produce it this kind of wine. We produce it like our grandfathers did it. So we leave it macerating for 3 to 4 days. So it's not pressed immediately. That's why it gets more taste, more distinct taste, because it gets out of the skin.
Okay, yeah, lovely, fresh. Yeah. Nice drinking. Yeah, really nice.
And quite a good, quite a let's say, strong aroma for me. I like this aroma. It's quite distinct. You cannot exchange it for something else. So now we switch to the red wine, or basically we call it black wine. Although we shouldn't, they said they shouldn't, but we call it black because it's so dark. This is Tarano wine. It's typical of this Karst region. It's let's say the most typical of this region. And curiosity, this is the only wine in the world that has a different name than a grape, because the grape is Refošk, the wine is Teran. It's very rich in minerals. It has a higher acidity, and it's here in this Karst area. There are, I think, around 600 hectares of this wine. This is the only region in the world that can be produced. Although Croatian produce a wine that is called Teran, but it's not the same. As you can see, it's a very beautiful dark ruby color and distinct scent of forest fruit. This is very typical for this wine. Typically, this wine was promoted as a wine that should be drunk fresh, so at most 1 year. But the interesting part, we got a gold medal for a 4-year-old wine. So it ages really well if you know what you're doing, and it's it depends. It really depends. If you drink it fresh, it has some interesting notes, but it's very fresh, very lively, like a little bit naughty wine. But if you leave it to rest for a few years, it becomes more smooth, more like. For me, like a real wine, you know. That's why we both like it a little bit older. That's why we don't sell younger than a year and a half wine.
This episode will go out shortly after the Rencel episode, and we had the exact same conversation there. I think, we were trying Terans from several years ago, and I was actually surprised that this was a 2015 because, it's still, as you say, all of those fruit aromas are still there. Yeah. Very lively, lovely ruby color, but it's got that sort of energy that could sort of fool you into thinking it's actually a younger wine. But really nice.
So the next wine is a little bit, I couldn't tell an experiment of ours, but it's a special wine. We call it non-oblitus. Basically, it's Teran wine, which has been forgotten in a barrique cask. We cannot call it Teran because it doesn't have the characteristics of Teran anymore. That's why we gave it a fantasy name. But this is also one let's say way to show what can be done out of Teran to demystify this, that is Teran should be drunk only fresh. So Teran can get something also from a barrique cask, aged for a long time. So this particular one has been in a cask for 2 years. So this is vintage 215 also. It really loses the acidity. It becomes much more fine wine. It gets this quite strong aroma of the cask, and it's something special. I would say it's not that we produce it a lot, but it's more like every few years when everything is right, because also the wine has to be of the right conditions, right sunshine, everything has to be right. So every 3, 4, 5 years we get the good vintage to produce it, and we put it in casks, and when it's ready we bottle it. So every batch is different. This is the third batch that we produced now, and try it for yourself to see how Teran. You tasted a lot of Terans, I guess, and see how Teran behaves in a cask for barrique.
I was actually a little bit surprised that you said it was quite new, the barriques, because I'm still getting very much those primary aromas and flavors. Really kind of fresh cherry and sour cherry. It's really, again, it's still sort of very lifted. It's still, as you say, 2015. It still has that vibrancy of a young wine, but you can maybe feel just slightly deeper flavors, but I don't feel that the wood is sort of overpowering those primary aromas and flavors. And this is just, as you say, just a little bit more on the sort of complex side, and really tasting nice, and still it's tasting young, but more complex.
When my brother first found out that there is a wine in these barrique casks, he was afraid that it would be a disaster, because it was 1 year, it happened this way, that 1 year we had a lot of production, so he put it everywhere. And then he just forgot it there. And after a year, he said, "Oh, this will be a disaster, to leave in a quite new cask to leave wine." And he tasted it. What? This is not ready yet. Let's leave it for another year. And after another year, you taste it. Wow, this is interesting. Yeah. Something happened, and it's a happy coincidence or a happy mistake. So we moved to something more sweet. This is Tarano liqueur, so liqueur from Tarano, we could call it. This is an ancient recipe. Our grandmothers used to do it. When they wanted to have something more sweet, they produced this from Tarano wine. So basically this is wine with a little bit more stronger alcohol, and with spices and herbs and with sugar. So it's basically a sweet wine, aromatized wine, and it goes good sometimes, let's say, with dessert and similar stuff. And lately, let's say last few, maybe 10, 15 years, we revived, not only we, everybody here revived this recipe. So it's quite popular lately, although it was a little bit forgotten.
And is there a particular sort of recipe, or is there a secret recipe, or is there, how does this sort of turn up in the region?
Well, there are some general guidelines, but every house has its own recipe. So there are a few common things like sugar and extra alcohol, but everything else it's a secret recipe from the house.
I thought you were going to say that. Yeah.
So now we've come to the spirits. So this is Dr. Šuc 38. It's our flagship product, we could call it. And this is 38 local herbs in a mixture of home-produced grappas. So first you prepare the base, the mixture of these three, so that it has not too much flavor, but some fine flavors. And then we put herbs inside. We source the herbs locally, just around the village. And we put each herb separately in a distillate, so it pulls the aromas out. And then at the end of the year, when we have all herbs, we do the mixture of the batch for that year. These are all the herbs that are inside. We can see them here.
So not a secret recipe, this one.
No, this doesn't have a secret recipe. On every box you have all the ingredients.
Okay.
I guess you have to have the proportions, but I cannot tell them because only my brother knows them. I'm sorry. They used to call these medicinal herbs. Nowadays we cannot call them, but we all know that our parents, grandparents use different herbs for different problems. And when we did this, we put it in a bottle that resembles a medicinal bottle. And then it was a happy coincidence that our designer saw that, and everything he did was play, let's say, on this note, because it's not only alcohol, it has herbs inside that has good benefits for the person, and that's why we play it on the note of the medicine. That's why Dr. Šuc, our surname is Šuc, and this is all, let's say, a little bit of a fun part of this business.
It totally makes sense in terms of aperitif, digestif. I've sort of had this about 30 seconds ago, and I'm still, I guess, sort of a harmony and interplay between all of those sort of different essences and herbs kind of playing out still in my mouth, and it's just very pleasurable. And as you say, feels like one to just be sort of sipped and savoured. This is really, really nice and easygoing. I would say it's 35% alcohol, but there's no burn. It's not a intense flavour. It's mellow, I think, as well as interesting from those herbs.
A lot of effort goes into preparing the base to be very, very smooth, very mellow, because the fine spirits shouldn't be too burning, too strong. As I said before, alcohol is just a transport for taste, and if you have a strong burning effect, you cannot concentrate on the taste, on the scent. The next is walnut liqueur from walnut. This is from a range of, we call them liqueurs. These are, the base is still the distillate from grape, different distillates, different combinations, but you put inside different or fruit or herbs, but just one, to get the flavor out. So the first one is from walnut, and you put inside the raw walnut, not ripe, and you put it. This is very traditional for this place. We just put it a little bit more time to make it more mellow, more strong, and it's one thing that we really focus is you can notice these clean aromas. Our goal is that you get the primary scent, the primary smell of whatever is inside. So now you get really the scent, the taste of that fresh walnut. So we call them liquors, but technically they're not liquors. To be a liquor, it has to have at least 100 grams of sugar per liter, and these have, but much less. So technically they're still spirits. But we don't like them to call them spirits, because if you tell somebody, okay, this is a spirit, they immediately imagine there's some very dry, strong stuff. That's why we put a little bit of sugar to make it more mellow, more drinkable, but not too much, so it doesn't cover the taste of the fruit or the spice that we put inside. Perfect. Yeah, the next one is sage. Basically the same technique of production as walnut, but from sage. You put sage inside. So this is, let's say, the transport for the sage. You get the sage, the clean sage taste. And the last one is wild fennel. It's also quite a, I can't say popular, but very common spice in this area. And it's really defines the Karst region. That's why we also used it in these liquors. And it's as you can see, it's very, very distinctive fennel taste. It has some that ouzo taste, but I don't like ouzo. But this combination, I really like. I can't tell, but it's different. Also, maybe because of the sugar, it's a little bit more sweet.
I think around the sugar is really interesting because it does certainly make them more approachable, but they're not sickly sweet. You don't get a kind of sugar rush. You don't get that kind of sensation in your mouth that it's kind of sticky or overly sweet. Yep. I think as well, I'll just talk a bit to the range that you've got here. You've gone from walnut to sage to fennel. Yep. And I just think it's a really interesting evolution because the walnut is visually it's darker. Taste-wise, it's more sort of almost more of a comforting type liqueur. I'm getting that kind of feeling, I guess, and it's kind of almost like a warm hug, really. But then it's really interesting for me that those sort of wilder, I guess, herbs are really kind of lifted, and they're playing in harmony with the grape base, with the sugar, but they're both quite lifted, both the sage and the fennel, and really. Really nice. I think all of them, very drinkable, very approachable, and very different. I think you could ideally have each one of these on your shelf. Yeah.
And you will see that now that we're moving to the dry spirits, you see that these are definitely lighter to drink. It's more like we could call them more popular, because it doesn't require from the drinker to be so not like expert, but now that we move to the dry, you see that they're more demanding on the drinker. They're more complex in taste, maybe some not so forgiving. It's not, let's say, for the beginner.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's fair enough.
So now for the let's call them spirits for connoisseurs. So dry spirits, we start with Grappa. We call them Tropinovec. This is pure distillate from the skin of the grape. This is 2015. It won the gold medal in Novi Sad, and they called it like a reference Grappa. Although we shouldn't call, I hope that the Italians don't listen, because we shouldn't use this name. But everybody here calls Grappa because we're 2 kilometers from the border.
It's so close.
The name Tropinovec, it comes from Tropina. Tropina is the skin of the grape. Just this is not no special name, just skin of the grape. So distillate from the skin of the grape. One thing interesting for Tropinovec is that when you tell people that you're drinking this one, Tropinovec, they said, it's bad, no, I don't like it. But the problem is that people remember the old Tropinovec, because everybody was making Tropinovec and with bad production methods, and they were, in the old days, they wanted to produce as much as possible. Of course, the spirit was bad. So everybody remembers this bad, really terrible spirit. But nowadays, with excellent production techniques, with really knowledge how to produce good spirit, it became something completely different. So now that you tasted it, you see that it doesn't burn. It's mellow. It really brings this special aroma of the skin of the grape that you're probably not used to it. But this is really the taste of the grape. As you taste it before Tropinovec, you see that it probably is not for everybody. And we don't expect everybody to like this one, but I think that everybody can find something for themselves. It depends so basically on the taste that everyone has. So the next one is, we called it Travarica from Zborjača. Travarica is basically a distillate with herbs. So the base is still a combination of distillates from grape, but we redistill it in the principle of gin, and we put some local herbs inside in the pot, and we redistill it. So basically, in the redistillation process, it takes the essences of these herbs that we put in. But that's why we call it. And Travarica is a quite common name in this Adriatic area for spirits with added herbs. This Karst region is very dry region. So we have often dry times with basically no rain, and this is also something that makes all the flavors here different, because everything that grows here must, let's say, work more, and the flavors are much more concentrated. So all the flavors that we do here are probably different than anywhere that has enough rain. And the story goes, because water is so rare here, once someone was coming to someone in the cellar, and they were trying some wine, and somebody said, "Oh, please give me some water." And he said, "Sorry, I cannot give you water. I have to pay for water. Drink wine, it's free." Our brandy ideally should stay in the glass for half an hour to really develop the taste, the aromas. On the first note, you will notice that it's very strong, but after sometimes it becomes really mellow and it really develops the aromas. Brandy Terra Rossa, it's basically a wine distillate. We distilled our Terran wine, which is not common for, let's say, for brandies to distill red wine. But we found out that Terran is still good for this because it has quite a lot of acidity. We left it in a cask for half. We left it for 11 years and half for 4 years. And then we mixed it to make it this brandy. We will lift this in glasses because we forgot to pour it half an hour ago. Okay. So we will finish with others and you will see the difference after that. Now we come to the hard stuff. It's an experiment I did and it turned out really well. This is coffee with Grappa. So I paired the Grappa with fair trade coffee. I have a friend who produces his coffee, so he really helped me. He did a special roasting for this coffee. He really paired the taste to Grappa. And then we experimented with let's say the combination because it's quite difficult to pair them because coffee is very distinct and Grappa has also a distinct taste and sometimes it's quite different than coffee. And you have to. I was really looking to find a balance so that you can still sense Grappa, the distinct taste of Grappa, but also coffee. But if you put a little bit too much coffee, you lose the Grappa. But if you put not enough coffee, you don't find the coffee. And as you can see, if you smell it, maybe on the first smell you're not completely sure that it's coffee. But after you taste it, it leaves a really, really strong aftertaste of really good coffee. I forgot about the name of the stuff that we drank before. It's Correcto. Correcto comes from Italy. Italians like to put Grappa inside of espresso coffee. So it's basically corrected coffee. And that's why we played, because they correct the coffee, we corrected the Grappa. So it's not with a C, it's with a K. But it comes from our neighbors. The next one is, we call it Sostanza za Corretto. Once again.
Should I include that or edit it out? What do you think?
Your choice. If it will do any good for you.
Okay. Yeah.
The next one is Sostanza za Brin Tonic. If I translate it, it's substance for Brin Tonic. Brin Tonic is a cocktail that we invented, and it's Karst interpretation of gin tonic. Because gin and Brinjevec are like cousins, they are both made from juniper, but Brinjevec is much stronger, much more distinct in flavor. And we thought everybody's doing gin, but we should do something that's local because Brinjevec is protected here in Slovenia. And so we were trying to find something, some combination that would go very well in a cocktail. And that's why we prepared this substance, which is a base, which is half of Brinjevec and half of other mixture of our home spirits and a little bit of herbs. And then this substance, we mix it with grapefruit, lemon, and tonic. And it becomes a gin tonic that it's not a gin tonic. It reminds you of a gin tonic, but it's much more strong, much more distinct. It's strong character, like we Karst people have, stone character strong. I think we will prepare you one later.
Okay, we made it. We survived.
We survived, and we didn't survive. We have the medicine for the end, because Brinjevec, what you're drinking now, was never a liquor to drink. This was always used as a medicine, really medicine, because it's centuries old. This is, as I said before, it's pure distillate from juniper berries, and it's used for digestion. My grandmother always said, if you have a bad indigestion, really bad indigestion, drink a little bit of this, and it will make you feel better. It definitely does. And she says, if this doesn't help, go immediately to the doctor.
Yeah, that's...
So you don't drink it as a liquor or for fun. Basically, you just drink it when you have indigestion, because you will see from the taste it's so strong. You shouldn't drink it before any food, because you will not taste the food anymore. You drink it after, if you add something very heavy that you need help. And really, I didn't drink it for like 35 years, 40 years, because I didn't like the taste. But once I called my mother, I have such a indigestion, I have such a problem. What do you say? Drink Brinjevec. I always told you, drink Brinjevec, but it tastes so bad. You don't drink it for taste, you drink it for health. Okay, mother, I will do it. And yes, I did it. I small glass, just 0.2, 0.3. And in 5 minutes, immediately better.
Well, yeah, we made it. We survived. Yeah. I think, I've purposely been staying quiet through the spirit section, really, because, I really think you've been doing a fine job. I mean, ably assisted with Ivo in the wings as well, sort of, filling in and reminding you of the additional things to include. I just think it's really, you've described it really spot on. This has been a real kind of taste journey. We've been purposely, mixing with water the taste of the last spirit out of our glasses, simply because they are so different. I think it's only really in the last two that, even noticing them here, they've got the same color on the top, and we didn't wash out the glasses because they've got a similar kind of flavor profile. So, we've gone through all of the different styles, and I just think it's nice, and, it's interesting that they've just got that underlying base. They have got that the underlying grape nature kind of coming through them, and they all, I think, it's interesting. They do speak in their own way to not only to the region and I guess its connections with Italy, and the way that people perhaps drink these in Italy and in this region. But I think it's also very interesting that it speaks to you as well. I like the personal nature. The way that there's, I guess you've put your own imprint on these drinks, and they genuinely couldn't be made anywhere else in the world. And a term that we use a lot in wine, and this thing is being increasingly used around spirits, is terroir. This is something that speaks ultimately to the region that it's produced in, and of this place here, and of you two as well. Yeah, and I guess really, my final question is to, I guess, move from the terroir and, us here tasting here in this room, and take it sort of broader, take it outside. What is the sort of, where are these being drunk? Where might you like to see them being drunk in the future?
Well, we're a small producer for now, because this is our side business. It's also a plus because we don't need to rush anywhere, so we can concentrate on good quality and to see really how it works. So right now we have a very small production. Basically, the most produced is the wines and the Dr. Šuc. The others, the series are quite small. That's why we are concentrating right now to sell them in Slovenia. But we're open to sell it abroad. But right now we don't do any really strong effort to sell it abroad, because we don't have the quantity, definitely, for now.
Okay, so anybody that's hearing and wants to try, they should...
Just contact us. You can check out our page. It will be in Slovene, so he will not understand anything. But get to the bottom. There is an email. We speak English. Everything can be arranged. For now, we tried 14 samples. There are 5 that are in the making, that are waiting for the right time to put them in the bottles. This is for now. In the future, we will see where it will take us.
Thank you so much, Edi, for your time in taking me through the entire range. Brother Ivo giving additional information in Slovenian off mic. A really welcoming experience, and as they are located so close to Rencel, I feel like this is a really good 1-2 to truly explore the regional culinary offering. The rigour and dedication to our work made me happy that this was the last stop of the night, and that we were staying at the Hotel Pliskovica, located a mere 50 yards or 10-minute crawl away from the Vrabci Homestead. I've left details in the description below of all of the wines and spirits that we tasted. And below that, I've left contact details for the Vrabci Homestead, as well as for the Hotel Pliskovica. For more information about wine tourism in Slovenia, do please visit enjoy/slovenia.com. To order wines from the series, do be sure to visit findslovenianwine.com. And you can also email Mojca any questions you might have at info@enjoy/slovenia.com. And if you're not already, I would love to have you following along with me on social media, where I'm at Interpreting Wine on Instagram and Facebook, at Wine Podcast on Twitter, and email hello@interpretingwine.com. See you next time.